I wanted to leave something behind for my family, and especially my grandson. And I was encouraged by other people to actually register the documents or the books in a proper manner. And I'm always have been an entrepreneur, so I felt that self-publishing, I could cut out a lot of the rejections and opinions of others.
Well, excellent question, because I had tried conventional publishers, and they really are not as interested as I had hoped for. But then the main thing I found out is the contracts and the arrangements. If you're self-published, you can remain in control of your work. You can't be dictated to you how you're going to work with it and how it's going to be distributed. And you don't have a cutoff as with traditional places. Once they buy a book from you, you're out of the picture.
The control over the process and the fact that this story of mine would remain my story. It wouldn't be where one of the big companies that I've heard from other people, Penguin or others, would take your story and change it. But hey, if I wanted to read somebody else's story, I would buy a book from the store. But self-publishing gives me a lot more control over my product. So I'm very glad that I chose self-publishing.
Being that it was a hobby, the editors of other books other than self-published books were asking for a lot more material to basically they were more worried about copyrights, and so they wanted to back up your material a lot more. And in the case of a fantasy story, it's like, I just need to get it out there. And so I like the fact that I could basically just publish it on my own.
Self-publishing was fantastic. I think it was a way for all of us to get our books out there, and I started to realize after I did a lot of research that old dinosaur that they have, this old 50s and 60s ideal that you need to, wine and dine and get somebody drunk from Fifth Avenue to pick up your book, is just an outdated idea. It's much like music today. If you think about how many musical artists are out there getting on their own labels and they're successful, it's the same model. And this is a way for all of us to get our stuff out there. And you can see the results of this as the traditional publishers are now trying to go back and scoop up the self-publishers. And so I saw that, and another thing about it is that I own the rights. I look on that first page and I see where it says copyright Christopher F. Benson, and that makes me happy because I know that this is all my material. I own it in every way, from T-shirts to Happy Meal toys. It's all mine, And so there's another thing with the royalty. I've got no advance, and that's the key word. It's an advance. After you get that, a publishing company, for instance, you're paying that back. But I've got no advance to pay back, so I stand to make a lot more money in the long run by just generating all the royalty. So there were many reasons to go, and I think it's just the way it is in the 21st century. I just think that's the way it is.
Well, I had sent out 150 query letters, and ended up getting 149 no's, and by the 149th no, I decided to start publishing myself. And then I got a yes after I started the process. But it gives you a little bit more control, it gives you more rights, and you're not boggled down. You could do your own marketing, and then if you decide in another step that you want to hire a marketing consultant or an agent, then you can do that still. But people are doing it all the time, even more so now than they did years ago when my book came out.
Actually, self-publishing didn't appeal to me at first. It was kind of a last option, as it often is for many writers. We believe that we're going to be the big discovered writer, of the year. And so I tried many other options first. I went through 2 agents, and after becoming very discouraged with that process, finally broke down and contacted Author House to self-publish. And finally, I've been able to move this, elephant down the road. Otherwise, we were just sitting there. So it really has helped to move the project along. And then, of course, networking events such as the Pitchfest that we're at today, is phenomenal, where you have the opportunity to pitch before others and get feedback.
I could make a lot of decisions about what I wanted to do, and the fact that I could get published I think we all dream about having that bestseller, but no big company is going to buy an unknown author unless you already have a story out there in the news somewhere that people are interested in. I think if you feel you have a story to tell, then self-publishing is the way to go.
Well, you pay for what you get. You just, you know, if I were Hillary Clinton, I could have gotten a few $1 million just to say I was going to write a book. But that isn't reality for most of us. And if you've never been published, you got to start someplace.
I think at first it was, I wanted to have a book on the shelf and say, look, I did that. But as people started reading this, not only friends, but friends of friends, people I didn't know, people who didn't have to like it, so to speak, thoroughly liked it. I've had comments like a page turner. I've had comments like I couldn't put it down. I even had one comment that said I didn't want to fall asleep at night, so I stayed standing up reading it because I didn't want to miss out. Ultimately, I think I wrote it just to have it on the shelf, but as it acquired a life of its own, I realized, no, I'm writing it for more. I want to impact people. I want this to sell. I want to do this for a living.
Oh, well, when I first chose self-publishing, it was because the industry was going through such distress, and the prospect of getting a traditional publisher to pick up a book by an unknown author was pretty much zero. It was just not going to happen. But having now independently published and now being on my second book that's coming out next month, I love, first of all, the freedom of it. I love being able to choose my cover, being able to choose the text that stays or goes. I greatly appreciate editors that iUniverse has offered because they've just been a wonderful help, and everyone needs a good editor. You just can't put a book out there without having it edited. But I love the independence of it, and also knowing that I can get it in print without it being on someone else's schedule, which frequently happens with traditional publishers. Authors now, or who a year ago would never even have considered self-publishing, are now blogging about why they've chosen to self-publish. It's an amazing transition in just 1 year's time.
Self-publishing, my reason behind it is because I'm very impatient, and that is the way to get it out when you want it out, versus letting a publisher letting it sit on his desk for 2 to 3 years and maybe deciding later that he may or may not want to publish it. It's expensive, but it pays off.
Oh, I like the fact that I can set my own schedule. There's no publisher breathing down my neck. Where's that manuscript you promised us? Also, I can do my own editing. I don't have to depend on someone to tell me, you're too wordy here, use this word instead of that word. And also, I can retain all rights. I can publish it whenever I'm ready. When I think it's ready, you know, I can publish it. I don't have to wait 2 years to see it in print. I have more control over what kind of book cover I'll have and what kind of interior. I like the whole idea of self-publishing. The only downside, I would say, is that not too many people know about you. You know, it's not like you're on the shelf in a major bookstore necessarily, and you don't get the big publicity that people maybe on the Oprah show or someone gets unless you really, really work hard and get there. But you do have a lot of things they don't have, and like I said, that's retaining, you know, the rights to your own product, producing what you actually want, not what an editor, a publisher, someone tells you they think you ought to write or produce. It can be whatever you want it to be, pretty much. I mean, you still have to observe the law. You can't plagiarize, you can't, you know, slander people and do this and that and the other, but still, you know, you're sort of in control of your own project.
It gives me more control. I like the idea that I can work one-on-one with each stage of the manuscript service, the production part, the graphics illustrations for the cover and the back cover. It just, I am really, really pleased with Ex Libris, specifically with the crew that helped me in Cebu. And been nothing but patient, you know, with me, because I can be demanding, but they are very professional. And they led me through, me, a first-time author, don't even know anything about publishing. They took me step by step, okay, this is you next, and they just walked me all the way through it to this stage. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. In fact, if it wasn't for the follow-up, I had put this book away about 12 years. I finished writing in 2000, actually, right after I came back from Siberia. And I went to a Maori Writers Conference, and people asked about it, and I wasn't really motivated to sending them. And until this past December, someone from Ex Libris called me and said, hey, Mr. Lagmay, are you still interested in publishing the book? I said, yeah, I'm ready. So it's the follow-up and the guidance from then on. So, you know, it just took me to where I am today.
The fact that I think self-publishing, more than the traditional methods, certainly as an author gives you more flexibility. You don't have to listen to 5 different companies or 50 different companies saying, no, it's not a saleable book. Okay, so that's one thing. It gives you control, and with that control, I think any self-published author can pick up the book and get a bigger sense of pride in knowing that this is mine. I did it. I not only wrote it, I designed the cover. You know, you've just got so much more control and input into the final product. And if it's done well, you definitely get that sense of pride.